Hey, Blacklist fans. This is Annie Heise, a.k.a. Elise, a.k.a. Janet, a.k.a. you get it. You're listening to the Blacklist Exposed on Golden Spiral Media.
Quack, quack, people. Janet, a.k.a. Elise, stops by the special edition of the Blacklist Exposed. I'm Agent Troy Heinrichs.
And I am Agent Aaron Peterson. All I can say is banana, banana, banana. I've had to do this like 3 times because I can't say banana 3 times very fast, apparently. So kudos to them for working that out. Show notes and other intel for this episode of The Blacklist Exposed can be found at theblacklistexposed.com.
Well, we promised you some special interviews here as we close up the season, and this is our second of those special interviews. The wonderful Annie Heise, yes, that's how you say it, Heise, is here, and she's going to chat with us about her time here during Season 4 on The Blacklist. It was a really fun conversation. Get to ask a bunch of fan questions as well, plus talked about some of her origins. I think you're going to really like her kind of growth story.
Her origin, she's Batman. Her origin story. Yes, and she was great to talk to. And I want to tell you, she's been fighting a cold. So thanks again, Annie, for taking the time. We obviously know you'd probably rather just be in bed than especially talking to Troy. So we definitely appreciate you taking the time. It was a great interview. I think we should just get into it, and we'll see you guys more on the back end.
Well, you guys know her as Elise, maybe Janet. We're not sure which name she goes by, but for most of you out there, it goes by Annie Heise, and she is here with us on the Blacklist Exposed. Thanks so much, Annie, for coming on the show. Glad to have you here.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Do people hate you right now? Do they love you? Do they hate you? Where are they at?
Oh, I don't know. It's always different because who knows who they're actually hating because I'm always different on the show. It's hard enough for me to keep up. So, yeah.
Well, you did just sell a Rama. I'm just letting you know. That's a bad deal.
Oh, yeah. I know when I read that. It was actually interesting when I went in for my fitting. They had all just, I was working the first day of the finale, and they were all like, we've been discussing you all morning. And I was like, oh, my God, what did I do? And they were like, no, not Annie, Janet, Elise, whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, good. You scared me. And they were like, no, half of us really agree with what you did, and half of us think you're scum. And I was like, oh, interesting. So reading it, too, I kind of tried to put in my mind, why she just kind of wanted to help herself, save yourself. There are a lot of different ways that you can take it, but the way that it ended up looking in the finale was she's kind of a jerk.
Well, I think we split that way too, Aaron, didn't we? You were on the, I totally get it, want to totally get rid of my criminal record, and I was on the, how dare you do that to a Rom twice in one season? Yeah,
I know.
I'm with Janet.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Yeah, no, and I think the other interesting thing, too, is Michael Watkins, one of the executive producers, he directed the final one, and he was like, I think when she goes to apologize to him, as a sociopath would, you don't know what you did was that hurtful or care. You just know you need to apologize, which, of course, we shot that last, and I was like, well, that would have been interesting to kind of know earlier on in the episode, but as the Blacklist kind of goes, everything's a mystery, even to us actors. I was often feeling like, what's really happening? I would come in with opinions and choices and all these thoughts, and then I would go, oh, none of those apply. Okay, what do you want me to do? I thought it was an interesting pickle that they put in for sure on that finale. So I'm glad to hear that you guys are bipartisan.
We are split. I got to ask you, because your name's Annie, and I want to know how many times people have made a bad joke about Annie, are you okay? Are you okay? Because Troy did that once, and I was already annoyed. So when your name's actually Annie, it feels like it would be a big deal.
Oh, my God. It's that, and it's the musical, and it's Annie Oakley. Annie Oakley's the worst one. Everyone who goes like, Annie Oakley, you ever heard that one? And I'm like, more than you know, and shush, I already want to leave the room. Annie, are you okay? You're not the first one. I'm so sorry to break the news.
All right. Well, when did you decide you wanted to be an artist? Was there a moment in your life? Was there when you were young, when you got older? When did you know this is what I want to do with my life?
I think when I was young, I sort of always fell into those school play roles where they were like, okay, we're going to do a play about the 50 states. And they'd be like, Annie's going to be Uncle Sam. And I was like, why? I'm a girl. And so it always just kind of was something that happened. I think I was kind of a ham growing up, but I played sports a lot actually growing up, and I was a singer. I did a lot of choir and things like that. And then I did a musical actually the spring of my senior year, and I was supposed to be going to journalism school. And I was like, I picked the wrong thing. So yeah, I did Into the Woods, that Stephen Sondheim musical. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, the choir teacher and the theater teacher, they had like commiserated, and they were like, Annie, like, please audition. And I was like, oh, it's so political. And I went to a small private school, and it was just like, the parents were involved in the whatever, and I was like, I just want to finish school and get out of here. Like, and I did it, and thank goodness I did. And I'm so grateful to those two for even mentioning it to me, because it was the absolute turning point. So I played the witch, which is this just like crazy character, and it was just like so much fun. And I just went, oh, oops, this is what I'm supposed to do. It was a very aha moment. So yeah, so I went to journalism school for a semester, and then I left and took my first acting classes and stuff, and found out about BFA programs, which is it's a Bachelor of Fine Arts. So you basically only take acting classes, and you do it with a very small group of people, and you do every single class together for 4 years. And so I entered one of those, and I survived. It was really hard. And then I ended up in LA, and I'm really, really glad that all happened. So yeah, I guess it would be my high school theater teacher I should just say thank you to, because he was the one that definitely helped that light bulb go off. So
that's great. Why was it so hard? You said the class was so hard. What was so hard about it? I'm just curious.
Oh, well, in these acting programs, it's very serious. And I'm a pretty sarcastic, cynical person. So they ripped that out of me right away. They were like, you don't get to do that here. It's not funny. It's theater. It's serious. And so I think the whole, what they kind of do to you, and they tell you this at the end, and now I get why, but they go, yeah, we really just wanted to break you down so that we could build you back to yourself, but a fuller version of yourself. And we all just looked at each other and were like, yeah, that's kind of what happened. You have to look inside all the time, I think, in a lot of acting programs, and you're challenged all the time on your toes, and you're put in uncomfortable situations in front of your peers and your friends they become family members essentially, but it's vulnerable to stand up in front of people and be criticized about the way that you walk, and how the way that you've been talking your whole life isn't neutral. And I'm from Minnesota, so I came in with quite the dialect. I sounded a lot like when I watch Fargo. I go, oh, that was me.
Oh, for sure.
Oh yeah, totally. Absolutely. And so right away they were like, you sound weird. And I couldn't tell, that was my neutral. That was my version of neutral. And I was like, well, this is me. And they're like, no, you need to know that that's not neutral. So that's painful to be told that in front of a bunch of people. And the Minnesota dialect, that one in particular, is like just a joke in general to every person everywhere because of things like Fargo and stuff. So, theater school is it's just one of those really intense places where everyone thinks it's the end of the world. And then you leave and you go like, oh, it really wasn't. But I learned a lot, but it really wasn't the end of the world.
And then where'd you get your first break? Do you remember your first break?
My first break was actually, I was on a television show. Jim Jeffries, the stand-up comedian, he did a series on FX. This is my first TV thing that I booked right out of school. And he luckily was in the sessions. And so was the director who was going to direct all of it. And they were co-creators on the show. And I went in to audition for them, and I went in for a role that, at that time, looking back, like I was totally not right for, but I kind of didn't know. So I, made choices and tried to do whatever. And I was supposed to fit in a suitcase. And he looked at me and he goes, you really think you can fit in a suitcase? And I looked at him and I was like, 'cause you could. And he like looked at me with like just rage, and the director just laughed hysterically. And he was like, you're going to read with her. Sorry, reader, you can go take a break. And we ended up just, improvising and whatnot. And they brought me back in for a different role that I was much better for. She was this sort of neurotic movie star, sassy, crazy person. And yeah, so they ended up making me recurring on that show. And it was in my mind, that was my break, I think, because it was kind of an intimidating room and situation. I kind of felt like I earned the job in so many words, because so many auditions go by, so many auditions. It's nice when you can kind of enter an engaging room and have it pay off. And, you know, when you're a little bit sassy and someone appreciates it and they're like, that was ballsy. Okay, we'll give you another shot here. And I love stand-up comedians because they're fun and you never know what they're going to say.
Well, two questions to branch off of that. One would be, since you love stand-up comedians, talk a little bit about the StandUp Guy, because I'm from Minnesota. I'm from Wisconsin originally, and then I actually went to school in Minnesota, so totally get in with this. And it just seems like an interesting thing to have this mobster turns comedian. What was that like for you working on that show, knowing that this is two passions that you love, being, you know, kind of sarcastic and also in the stand-up comedian world?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that movie was originally supposed to take place in the South. So when I auditioned and stuff, like I had this like Southern drawl, and I was just, I mean, the character was very similar, but then at last minute they were like, you know, actually, I think we wanted to take place in the Midwest. And it was like so perfect because they had already cast me, and I was like, well, that makes more sense. And they were like, yeah, that's so lucky because you can actually sound like that. I was like, yeah, I can. Yeah, that was definitely a fun project because, I mean, Bob Saget was in it, who is just like the king of saying the funniest thing you can possibly imagine and the dirtiest, weirdest, craziest thing you can imagine at any circumstance. And he does not care if it's appropriate or not, and it's awesome. That was definitely a fun one in that regard. To some degree, the way that they characterized everyone in the Midwest, you know, I went to boarding school and stuff, so I haven't even spent, you know, a whole ton of time there in my adult life, but it was interesting, the caricature that they decided to make out of what was the Midwest. But I kind of kept my mouth shut because I was like, this is too personal to me. So, but you know, I thought it was really funny. And I mean, having a mobster go into, because the Midwest is just, I mean, it would have been funny going south and it would have been funny going to the Midwest. And I think the Midwest it's a wonderful place, but rarely are you faced with a character. You know, I mean, everyone is kind of, like the South, it has its way, it has its rhythm,
Mm-hmm.
It has its rhythm of speech, rhythm of living. So it was a good choice, and it was entertaining for me to watch these people have all of their opinions and ideas of the Midwest and have me go like, okay, and we're doing it this way. Okay. Sounds good.
I have heard so many times that Bob Saget he's just the most profane man. And I'm like, I grew up with him on Full House. He was so sweet. And apparently that's just not true.
He is sweet. That is true. I mean, he looks you in the eye, shakes your hand, remembers your name. Really, really, really nice, good guy. Like, we went out to a couple dinners, and it's just like, I don't even know how he thinks of the things in the time. I mean, we're just ordering chips, and he figures out a way to make chips like the dirtiest thing. And you're just like, how is this happening? We're just ordering chips. No, he's a good guy. I was definitely grateful to have spent some time with him.
That's great. I know we're going to get to some Blacklist questions, but there's something I got to ask, because as soon as I see it on your IMDb page, I'm like, I got to know. What's it like working on it? Because you did a couple episodes on As the World Turns, right?
Oh my God, I did that in college, yeah.
What is it like to be on a soap opera? Because it just looks like insanity.
Oh, well, this was like total insanity because I was in college. I was at acting school at the time, and they were doing this final tour in their final season of As the World Turns, where they were going to different cities throughout the United States, and they stopped in Pittsburgh, and which is where I went to Carnegie Mellon, so that's where Carnegie Mellon is. And so we found out that they were doing this like big casting at the mall. So of course, all of us, we were like, oh, we can like go and be on a TV show. Like now we're totally, it was like all went. And it was this like huge open through the mall. Like this is one of those very, very vast malls, like out in a suburb of a suburb of a suburb. So it was huge. And it was just like the line was around every floor. And none of us had any idea what we were auditioning for. We all just like ate churros and waited. And we were like, what are we doing? And so a bunch of us auditioned, and they ended up like using a bunch of us. I ended up getting like kind of a cool, weird part where her name was Ella Vanderberg, and she was supposed to be the wealthiest debutante in Pittsburgh, which is just so hilarious. It's the fastest thing in the entire world. And, you know, I'm sitting at theater school where it's like each line we take a week to really make sure you're living in the line. And for this, they're like, no, we're going to scratch that one. Just say this. Annie, can you just say it? This one over here now? Thanks. And I'm sitting there going like, but I didn't think of it, and I didn't, and then suddenly and someone pulled out a gun, and I was like, but it was really fun because I think for me, I like being on my toes and not having preparation to always hold on to, So for that reason, it was kind of fun because I was just like, I can't prepare for this because I have no idea what they're going to have me do and when the gun's coming out. And so yeah, it was definitely, it was fun, but fast and crazy and totally weird.
I love watching just how soap operas were made. Because, I mean, a lot of people these days these youngins don't even know like what a soap opera really is. It's like bam, 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 click, click, click. It's one episode a day. I mean, it's a lot of work.
It's insane. We did all 4 episodes in 2 days, like that storyline.
Oh my God.
And I was like, I know. It was literally, we were at this like little art studio for 2 days and like brought my own clothes. They didn't give you, they were just like, oh, bring something, like bring a bunch of fancy things. And I was like, I don't have fancy things here. I'm at college. I have like sweatpants and unitards. Like, what? Like, because we have like, oh my God, it was hilarious. And so luckily a girl who was also doing it, she had this like gown thing and she's like, I randomly have this. And I was like, can I borrow it? Yeah, it was really, really a trip. It was a very funny experience. So that we're all very grateful for because a few of my friends, like the ones who we all went to the mall together, we all ended up getting on it. So it was like this great sort of memory of college where you're like the 2 days at the art studio on As the World Turns with like, guns and whatever happens on soap operas that you just, yeah, it was pretty crazy. So, but it was really fun.
That's very cool. Thanks for sharing that. I hope we didn't go off too much. I like to hear how people get to where they are. And I think it's great to know that.
Oh, it takes so many weird little things like an open call in a mall. Who knew?
So how did you end up coming to the Blacklist? How did you end up with, was it just coming in for a guest spot and it went from there, or people reach out, or how did it come to? Yeah, so the people that cast it, they're wonderful casting directors out in New York. So I've known them, since I left school. And I, now live in Los Angeles. So they were like, hey, will you tape for this recurring role on the Blacklist? As of now, it's 4 episodes. And they gave me, what was the character description? I could probably pull it up and email it. It was like, the girl you meet on Tuesday and marry on Saturday, but she has a secret, or like something like so vague like that, because the show is so secretive. And I was like, what in the world? And then they sent me stock scenes, is the only way I can describe it. Like none of them had the same character name. None of them were, the name of what said character was even going to be. And like one, I think I was sitting in like an Italian restaurant, like talking about some deal with some guy and I was going to offer him money for this, something just like wheeling and dealing, very serious. And then one of them was from this. It was the scene where I come in after the first scene where you see me, where I come in from running and I'm like, hey, what are you making for dinner? And I interrupt him on the phone. So literally 2 words. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do with this? And then there was this very morbid hospital scene. And I was just like, who is this person? So I just taped the 3 scenes and sent them in. And I woke up like a week and a half later and I had all these emails from the Blacklist and I hadn't even found out that I had booked the role yet. And I called my manager and I was like, good morning. She was like, good morning. How are you? I was like, well, I'm good. And she was like, good. I'm glad. What's going on? And I was like, so I know. And she was laughing so hard. She was like, damn it. I knew that they were going to email you first. Yeah. So that was kind of how that ended up. When I got there, I had no idea what the storyline was going to be, nor did I every single episode I have ever really, really gone. I don't know what's coming. But every time I do get a script, I sift to the end and I go, am I killed? Because then I know it's over. Aww.
So, no, I mean that in like the best, funniest way, because that's just like the joke on the show is they're like when I walked on set on the finale, Michael Watkins, he came up to me and he went, we didn't kill you. And I was like, I noticed. That was the first thing I looked for. He was like, uh-huh. It's just like, so you just, it's a great show because you just never know what these people are going to come up with. And I think it was so fun as they got to know me and my voice and, you know, sort of the sarcasm that I have and the tonality of everything. They really caught on to remarkably quickly. So yeah, I think the role just kind of turned into whatever they wanted it to as it went on, you know. I mean, I never really knew what it was going to be, which has been really fun and exciting as an actor to just go, what are they going to have me do now? You know, am I going to kick ass or am I going to like talk about computer jargon? I don't know. Or am I going to be making out with a Rom in a shower? Like, I don't, you know.
Well, one of the fans, Grace, actually wanted to know how much of the Blacklist did you actually then have to watch before you actually showed up on set, just to get a feel for who everybody was.
Oh, for the first, well, because I found out that I booked it and I had to leave like 3 days later. It was like one of those just insane things. So I watched the first 3 episodes of the entire series, and then I watched the last 3 episodes of the season before. I think the other stuff hadn't aired or something. It hadn't aired yet because I was really early on in the season. And so I was like, okay, I'll see where it started and then I'll see where it is now. And that'll hopefully give me like somewhat of a taste. I don't know if that was the right way to do it, but it was the way that I did it and the amount of time that I had. So, but I mean, even still, there are so many little intricate details that it's amazing that they keep them going, you know, and making sense of them all. And
well, let's not get too carried away on making sense of them all, but they're trying.
Yeah, right. I know exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I'll just say yeah.
Did you so you watched like 6 episodes? Did you figure out everybody's the entire connection? Because it's probably people that just watch a few episodes that have it figured out, no problem. It's everybody watching every episode that has they have all these ideas in their head about where the show is.
Yeah, I didn't have any idea about where anything was going. I just knew how everyone related to everyone and kind of like how each character was propelling the story in different ways. And I went like, okay, I'm going to go from there. So like, I know the world that I'm entering, and then I was able to understand how I was affecting anything. And then that was kind of all that I could know. And sometimes still know. I go like, but who is that? That must have been in some season that I can't even, you know. Yeah, my mom was so sweet, and she watched like 3 seasons in like a few weeks. Like, it was just crazy. I was like, Mom, you are a queen. And now she's just obsessed with the show. She's just absolutely obsessed. Yeah, she doesn't watch TV. She's not like a big TV person. But she's just like super into it and just loves it, which is fun. So it's very cute.
So the bigger question then is, does your mom and Amir's mom get together for TV watch parties then?
Oh my God, that would be really weird. I would not wish that upon them. Those are just all the scenes that I don't speak to my mother about. I just think, so what do you think of the fight scene and then this and this? Omit shower scene. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, you ended up having to do all the techie stuff. It clearly doesn't sound like very much of a tech background. So was that hard for you to transition into the quote unquote tech world as you came onto the show?
Oh my God, literal zero tech background. Like, email sometimes makes me sweat. And
that's a great answer.
It was just the memorizing, I think, was a little bit tough at first. And then, you know, I wanted to make sure that it sounded like the character saying it, you know, too. So I, as Annie, needed to like somewhat get an idea of what the heck I was talking about, and then translate it into how was I even using this language to explain it to people. Or Janet's always kind of like doing things to people too. You know, every sentence I feel like I say is like kind of a dig or like kind of could mean something else. So even the computer jargon, I just felt like it. I thank my husband for memorizing those lines with me. And he would just be like, stop, you said that wrong. That made no sense. And I'm just like, okay, thank you. Because he works in sales. He works for a software company. And he's like, Annie, you have no idea what that sentence means, do you? And I was like, no. And he's like, and I can tell. So you need to work on that one. And then come back to me. And I was like, okay.
What about the couch? Did you hurdle the couch? Was that you?
That was me. We had to do all of it.
Sweet.
That's crazy.
We had to do that whole... So like any of the fight stuff that there was a thing when she actually kicked him over the couch, that stunt guy actually got kicked by my stunt girl.
Wow.
And he like told me, he was like, I actually get kicked. I was like, wait, I thought you were just good at like faking kick. He's like, no, I actually get punched. And I was like, what? I was like, doesn't that hurt? Doesn't that suck? isn't that the worst? And he's like, I don't know. I just kind of get punched for a living. It's just like, oh my God. I always just thought that they just really knew how to fake it really well, but no, he actually got kicked.
You know, Annie, I think they actually are supposed to fake it. So maybe he's just not very good at it, or he's a masochist. I don't know.
Yeah, or maybe he was totally lying to me, and I'm like the biggest. That would actually, what if he was lying to me? I actually love that. I hope he was, because that is so funny, because he totally got me. Like literally got me. No, but okay, so if he didn't actually, maybe he was just trying to like, oh God, that's so funny. I'm gonna like think back on that when we get off the phone, and I'm just gonna like replay that as though he was joking and I didn't get the joke, because I love that version of it so much better. So they had us choreograph it with my stunt double. Actually, she's literally going to be in the Olympics for karate this upcoming time. Which
oh wow!
I was like, you're maybe the most impressive person in the room, just so you know, by far. You're so cool. And so we all kind of made sense of it together, you know, like what's the story of the scene and, you know, physically, how does this work? And then we had to do it all. At one point, actually, I slammed him against a hallway wall. I don't know if you, I mean, it was all so fast, but I actually had to do it, like use my body weight. The way that it was all choreographed was you had to physically do it all, in order for it to kind of flow and make sense. But we broke a painting, like the glass on a painting, and it like shattered everywhere. It was crazy.
Nice.
I know. And it was actually like probably really dangerous because I had bare feet, but it was fun. And who cares? And no one got hurt. But yeah, I did jump over the couch. I absolutely jumped over the couch. And Amir is like just so awesome and just the best. And he was like, yeah, actually grab me. Like, I'm tough. Just do it. Which was like fun, because I was like, okay, you know, because I'm a lot smaller than he is in real life, and so I actually, you know, had to use as much body weight force as I could, and he was awesome about it. We had a lot of fun.
We'll talk about Amir a little bit then. What was it like working with funny things on set, off set? What was that kind of relationship over the time you had spent with him?
First, he's just like the best guy. Like he's honestly just one of the nicest, most encouraging people that I've ever met in this industry. I mean, he's just like from the get-go, just super awesome. And then he's really funny, and he is a Rom, which is awesome. I mean, Rom's obviously like a heightened. I used to tell him, I was like, a Rom is like your clown. He's like, if he's just like a heightened version of you. He's just goofy, you know, and he's always kind of saying stuff and then muttering to himself and then saying more stuff and then muttering back to himself. And all those things, those isms definitely live in Amir. Which, yeah, I don't know, makes him just charming and very approachable, but he's also like awkward and in the best way. So yeah, he's really fun, and he's a really good actor too, which I was really grateful for, because he just gives you tons, which is really, really nice.
What was your most favorite scene with him out of the ones you did?
My most favorite scene with him.
Where you flipped on him. How about that?
I know, right? Yeah, maybe.
Which time?
It might have been. I know. Oh my God, I'm just so mean and awful. I mean, I feel like any time that we kind of just got to be playful and happy together, I think was really, really fun. Even just like in the finale, like that opening scene where we're just like joking about, you know, him exercising for the first time. Like all of those really light scenes with him are really fun. Oh, definitely the architects. That whole episode was so much fun when we refound each other at the sort of underground tech crazy thing, the hackers convention or whatever. All of those scenes were really fun because he was just so overwhelmed and I was in the driver's seat, and it was just, those were really, really fun because we kind of got to create our relationship for the first time based on, you know, kind of who Janet actually is, which I think was really, really fun.
And then how was it working with Mozhan? Because that's the other dynamic where you're part of this triangle. How was that?
I mean, it was very different because I think, you know, for the first chunk of time that I was there, I was pretty much only with Amir. Like most of my scenes were all there. And then suddenly I was slapped straight into procedural land at during one episode where I think I had maybe one scene with Amir. And, you know, just the rhythm of even those actors is completely different. I mean, for the most part, too, Janet's kind of this like fast talking, sassy person. And they're both just very straight and to the point and ask you a question and then stare at you and are like, are you going to answer this the way that I want you to answer it? And, it's a little intimidating, I think, absolutely at first. And then, you sort of learn to use that and go, oh, I'm going to just tease you a little bit and get you off your game because I'm going to try to make you not as serious, but that doesn't really work. She's wonderful and but just totally different. Yeah, she's a very calm demeanor, which I don't, so but it's always fun when, two actors are put together and, they're kind of both similar to their characters in some ways too. And then seeing how that kind of blends. So it was definitely fun. I mean, all that war room stuff that I got to do with her was really fun where it was just, we were just kind of sassing each other. And I think those kinds of scenes are always fun.
And the Brandons are just such these comedic jokers to begin with. So the fact that they got to write these awesome lines.
Oh, the Brandons.
For you and Mozhan to go back and forth there, that was some of the best quippy.
Oh my God. There was stuff they did not put in there that was just like so over the top and awesome that I was sad wasn't in there, but I get why.
No, it's great. Because one of the things that was nice about your character was that, I mean, you just have this smile about you and your personality just came through the character, through your smile. And hearing about how sassy and stuff you are now, I mean, you could totally see that come across when you have these, interactions with Samar, especially after the architect. We're like, hey, Samar.
That it's just like to try over and over and over again to just like get to her, it's fun. Like as an actor, it's definitely fun. So yeah, but the Brandons, I love that you brought up the Brandons. We were in contact after that episode because they just wrote, it was just awesome. And however they understood my voice in the way that they did by that time with how many episodes I hadn't even really been in, was really remarkable. So that was really fun. And, I really appreciated how much fun stuff they gave me to do,
Is there you mentioned that there's some stuff that got cut that was great. Is there anything in particular you can think of?
Yeah, like in the whole, when they are interrogating me in the interrogation room, they wrote this whole series where what have you and Aram been up to? Like, why were you, they just kind of went into some more sort of detail about, I think, just to give backstory in our relationship. And there was this whole thing with like swag bags at this event that we went to. And I was just telling her, like, I said everything directly to her about like how handsome Aram is and how much fun we have and how awesome we are together, just like over and over again to her. And and she was like, but that's not the point. You're not answering my question. That's not what I asked. Like it was very much just like that. And it was really fun, but it didn't serve the story over, the amount of stuff that they shoot in a short period of time they have to get it in. I mean, they still kept some of it, which was fun, but it was a fun scene to shoot for sure. So.
Well, I want more Catty banter. I think that would have been fantastic.
It was. There was definitely some Catty banter in there. Absolutely. But, oh, well, they kept some. I think people got the picture. And I think it's good, too, when they kind of write you more than what's going to be in because it gives more light and levity to those little moments that they do keep, whereas if it was just written as a simple back and forth, 5 or so times versus a 2-page scene, it's nice if you have the rhythm of a 2-page scene and then they can kind of move it around as they please and get into it a little more as an actor. So I don't know. I think it was fun. I'm glad that I had the Brandons behind me for sure.
We don't know if you're coming back for next season. You're not dead, so that's always a good sign.
Mm-mm.
But if you don't come back, what is one career lesson you took away from doing the show this season that you could take going forward with you?
I think it's to never feel certain of anything. I think like as a person and as an actor, I think that's just like a really good lesson is to just never go into anything with a very specific expectation of what you want it to be and what you think it should be, because it leaves you very closed to exciting opportunities, I mean, I think some of the opinions that I, had or my first impression of a scene when I would read it versus what it ended up becoming when even just if that other actor came in, you would go, oh my God, I didn't even think of that line that way. And based on what you went through 3 episodes ago, of course that's what's here, even though it's not, explicitly written. And I think that's the lesson. And I think that's just such a applicable lesson to so many things in life is to just not have expectations so that you can be free and adjustable and enjoy whatever it is that you have at the moment, you know. I mean, obviously be as prepared as possible and have tons of thoughts, but let it go and be ready to be told what to do, or to be thrown a bone, or oh, we totally changed this. You know, I think if I were trying to be too controlling of myself or my choices on this set, I think I would have probably gone a little crazy, because, you know, you never know what's going to happen. It's TV. They change stuff all the time. You know, one email changes the whole thing. So
that's true.
Yeah, I think that was probably my big takeaway. So
we have 2 more of our questions, then we've got some fan questions. Okay, tell us about First Love. What's First Love?
First Love, it's an indie movie that I did last year, and we shot it over like 10 days, which was just crazy. And I play it's about twins, estranged twins, who basically kind of had a rough childhood and lose touch. And me, it's a brother and a sister, and she ends up becoming this movie star, and she can't face the way that people are treating her. They treat her as though she can, you know, do anything that she wants, and no one's honest with her. And instead of it going to her head, it actually does the opposite. She just like yearns for any sort of real human connection. She sort of has this mental breakdown and locks herself in a hotel, and no one can get her out. And her brother ends up coming, and he's going through his own existential crisis, and he ends up coming to quote unquote save her, but really he's perhaps writing a tell-all book about her.
Oh.
Yeah. So you watch them kind of deal with all of their terrible stories of the past together, and the big question is, you know, is he going to turn on her, or are they going to, you know, mend their broken relationship? So it's very, very dark, but it's very funny. Or I try to think. I try to bring humor to anything that's really dark, because I think for me, whenever anything gets really sad and serious, I always want to just make a joke or something. But yeah, it was definitely fun to play someone who's absolutely lost it. It's a cool little movie, so I'm excited. I haven't seen it yet. Hopefully, I'll see it one day. From what I've heard, and I mean, I've seen little pieces of it. It's beautifully shot. The girl who did all of the cinematography, everything, she was amazing. So, yeah, it was really fun.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm a big fan of independent films, so
it's a cool one, and all the actors were really great. We all went to our SED intensive theater programs, so it has a lot of like that kind of stuff in it. So there's a lot of acting, but but the material's so playful that it was, you know, the director was really, really wonderful and gave us just kind of free reign. He was like, use these words, but whatever happens, let's see what happens, which is just like never the case ever. So that was really cool. You know, and to be with good actors makes it really fun, because you can just kind of try stuff.
And 10 days is, I mean, that's fast food right there. So the fact that you can get some quality out of that's impressive.
Well, I have yet to see it, but I think it'll hopefully be good.
I'm sure it's wonderful. I'm sure it is.
No, I've heard anyone that's seen it has said that it's really good. It just needs to, they're just finishing the editing process, and you know, just that kind of stuff takes. There are a lot of flashbacks and complicated things, and so they're trying to, you know, deal with all that stuff. So, but yeah, I'm really excited to see it. It's a beautiful story.
Well, hopefully, if you would, let us know when you do find out when it's coming out, so we can let people know.
I will for sure. I absolutely will.
So it sounds like the acting's been a blessing for you, but you did start out singing first, and there is this random YouTube video of you singing out there in the interwebs. Such a great job.
Oh my God, I don't even look at it. Oh God, thank you.
You're so good in it. So I guess the question is, do you want to go back to singing? Would you do musicals? Would you do stage?
I would love to go back and do theater. Absolutely. I mean, I think musical-wise, later in my years, just because I have such a lower tone to my voice, you know, playing the young ingenue doesn't really make much sense. Soprano, I am not. But yeah, I mean, I think I definitely see myself going back to the theater, and I would love to do musicals. I mean, anything like Sondheim, he's just so good. And I just, I think that would absolutely be fun. And I mean, I would love to do a movie, I think, too. I would love to play like Stevie Nicks or something in a movie. I've always just I love Fleetwood Mac. I'm just like such a fan. And I just think something like that, like some sort of biopic where I could sing and stuff, I think would be such a dream. I think that would be such a cool kind of thing to work on. But yeah, singing is something I do every day, and I drive my husband nuts. So yeah, but that's so funny that you watched that video. I've tried to take that down, but it's out there, so it's stuck forever.
Take it down. Don't
Sorry,
take it down. You're really good at it.
I didn't put it up. Thank you. It's very theatrical. So yeah.
It's a very powerful song. It needs to be theatrical.
Thank you. Okay, that's good. I'll just tell myself that every time I'm embarrassed. You're like, yeah, it needed to be. Yeah, Annie.
Mm-hmm. Just turn on your phone and just videotape every time when you're singing in the car, and then start loading that up on YouTube. It might generate some hits.
Oh my God.
Singing with Annie channel.
Yeah.
See it now.
Or Annie singing at you channel is more what it would probably be.
Well, are you ready for some fan questions?
Yes, please. Bring them on.
Jen Sansevier wants to know, how did you get Aram to take you back after The Architect? Because it's always baffled the audience. Like, was there something in the script that we missed, or was it just something you did, or can you just kind of expand on that scene a little bit more?
Okay, so at the end of that episode, The Architect, I don't know if you noted this sort of I'll be back smirk is what I've called it. Mm-hmm. At the end of that episode, which I think the idea behind that was to say, like, this might not be over. But there were, I think, those moments where, I mean, obviously there was a time lapse between those two episodes, but I think the idea is the curiosity between the two of us of, okay, so that was fake, but it was really fun while it was happening. Now that we really know who each other are, like, or I guess I always knew who he was, but could this be something real? You know, I think that curiosity, I think that was honest for Janet. I mean, as honest as she can be, as her sociopathic tendencies tend to, lean towards. Yeah, I think it was just what could have been or what was fun, and I think during that whole episode of The Architect, they're having fun. As serious and dramatic as the circumstances, they have a back and forth. The moment when he's trying to untie his scarf and she just tells him to slow down, and that whole moment, I think, in our minds as actors when we were going through it all was, oh no, there really was something here. There were some lines that were cut actually in that final scene. I can't remember exactly how they went, but when I'm leaving the war room and he thanks me, he says, I should really thank you for saving my life, but it doesn't take back everything that happened. And I say, really? It doesn't? And then, so there was kind of a back and forth there that they ended up cutting, I think, to just kind of leave it a little bit of this looming, like, will they, won't they? What's going to really happen? So that everyone kind of could fill in the blank. But the story that we told ourselves was, we did have fun all that time that we were dating, even though it was fake and I was playing a part. And then when we actually got to, be with each other as each other, it was still kind of fun. And there were still maybe some feelings there. So I think that's sort of how the rekindling occurred.
Mm.
If that makes any sense.
It does. Absolutely. I think Troy's he overthinks everything. Oh, wait, that was Jen, but I feel like it was Troy.
I get paid to overthink.
I want to know what the overthinking, like what were all the looming thoughts and possibilities other than just maybe they wanted to hang out more.
My rule of thumb is everybody likes the bad girl. So I get where Ram's coming from.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anita Wallner wants to know if we will see you in season 5.
I'm going to just say more to be revealed.
Aha. I see what you did there. If you did, hypothetically you came back, do you think Janet would be willing to help Red rebuild his empire since his expunged?
I've wondered that because she does have she's got some skills. She's got some skills that I think are very, very useful and could be useful to everyone. So, it would be interesting. How can you remake a character a third time? But I would love if I could, come back and be a part of that storyline since, it started with Aram, and then it kind of moved into the war room. And, you know, I really got to pretty much do a scene with everyone there, you know, including Cooper even. I did, you know, I got to work with everyone. And then you know, there is that whole other story that goes on with everything that I think it would be really fun to go into that world. So we'll see. I don't know.
It would be a full, like, we call it like rebranding or remaking of the character, right? Because technically the record that you had is not expunged because there was no grand jury.
This is true. So it's left incredibly open. I mean, what happened to Janice? She's very resourceful. She's going to figure it out. I don't know.
Before we move on to other listener questions, I'm curious, because I know you guys get asked a lot of the same stuff. Has there like been one question that you get asked more than anything?
Yeah, what's James Spader like? It's the only question. And of course I didn't meet him until I was like, I didn't meet him for forever until I don't even remember. And I met him in passing, and he's the nicest guy, and he does the little head tilt in real life, which I loved. And he's very, very nice. That's the question. That is literally that is everyone's question.
We actually specifically try to, when we interview anybody with Blacklist, we try not to even ask that because, we get that.
It's literally that. The only, I know, it's what everyone's first, oh my God, what's he like? And but I don't know. How did it feel to throw punches and what's that all like? You know, people like to ask about the stunt stuff because I think that's, you know, and the thing about that is I think that most people don't know is how much time it takes to choreograph that stuff. And then, you know, what you guys see is 30 seconds of a 7-hour extravaganza of camera rehearsal and you know, just tons of rehearsal, you know, and conversations and working little moments through that don't work. And so, yeah, I'd say Spader and the stunts. Those are my main questions.
Annie, I'll be honest. Apparently, you guys don't need to rehearse anything because just to go up and start kicking them. And I think that seems to be how you do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you just actually do all the things. That's the real thing. You talk about it, and then you actually fight each other. You actually bleed. Yeah.
So much quicker.
Exactly. Oh, funny.
Well, Paula Courtney wanted to know, what is your favorite word?
You know what word I say all the time, and I actually stole it from a friend of mine, so I feel like I have a terrible track record of even saying this, but scum. I love using the word scum to describe things, and it always catches people off guard. And for whatever reason, it's just this word that I just love using to describe things. That's the first word that just came to my mind. I feel like I should have had a much more intellectual answer to that, but I love using the word scum. Yeah, I feel like it's just applicable to so many circumstances, and it just always catches people off guard. It's just such a good word. Every time I get a double take when I say it, everyone's like, wait, what, scum? Yeah, kind of. It makes sense for things. It's good.
Must be the Minnesota accent on it.
Maybe. Totally, probably what it is. Oh my gosh, funny.
Jennifer Johnson, I guess I don't understand this question right. Where does your allegiance truly lie? Does she mean on the show or
on the
in
show.
General? In politics? I don't know what she's asking. Okay, on the show. Where does your allegiance truly lie?
That's a whole nother conversation that I don't think is a part of this podcast. Oh, boy.
No.
My allegiance, I would say, as we spoke about early on in this conversation, is with myself. I think that's a decision that I made about Janet to help me kind of wrap my mind around it, is at the end of the day, she's out to save herself. And, you know, I can pretend to fill in any background information because who knows, you know, what any of the writers are thinking or what's really, you know, back there. But in my mind, she's just a survivor. And I don't know if that means that, you know, she had a rough upbringing and was kind of on her own or what it is. But I think her allegiance is with herself and making sure she's being taken care of. And I think that was very clearly shown in the finale. And she was just no question about it. She was just they put me in this position, so I gave you up. I mean, they threatened me. I picked me. Sorry. You know, and I think she's a survivor. It's kind of where I've placed her in my head.
Well, I guess Kevin McDonald wants to know, do you have to be a survivor in real life? Since you're the one that broke up Saram in the first place and then betrayed Aram twice, are there literally fans stalking your house and egging your car and things of that nature in your personal life?
Wow, Kevin.
Oh my God, wouldn't that be funny? No, they're not, luckily. Yeah, people I don't think seem to be very thrilled. I mean, I was definitely warned on multiple occasions about Twitter with this television show, and I was warned right away. Everyone was like, everyone wants Amir and Aram to get together, and you're going to come in and throw this wrench, and people are going to hate you. And I was like, oh boy. But I think I kind of enjoyed that, actually. I mean, there's kind of a challenge behind that. It's like, how can I make this character in any way, you know, interesting, aside from this love triangle that I'm hugely a part of. And, you know, that's obviously what the point of my character bringing her on is, to ignite that sort of storyline. But, you know, I think some people were like, I never liked her. But, I mean, no one spit on me in real life yet. No one's called me scum, which would probably be hurtful. So, you know.
Or would it be a compliment in your world? Because it's your favorite
You know,
word.
in my world, I might go like, touche, way to use that word. You listened to the podcast, didn't you? That's probably what I would say. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, there was some backlash on Twitter, but, you know, I tried to just be like, you know, whatever.
I feel like we should encourage people to call you scum, but then I also feel bad about that. So I'm kind of in I don't know where I'm at with that one.
Well, it's like
I don't know.
It was that challenge that Amir had us actually trying to tell people to send him IT questions.
Oh my gosh, like real ones where he'd be like, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, here's an odd one. An anonymous person asked, "Are you really Jennifer Reddington in disguise?"
I don't know. No.
These are these crazy fan theories that are out there. They truly think that you are the mysterious missing daughter of Red.
Are you serious? Is that really like?
Yeah.
I'm actually taken aback.
But at the same time, that could they could totally write that later. You know, that's what's so cool about this show. You never know what they're going to create.
That would be messed up. And then that make Aram would be like a son-in-law. And all right, I'm digging this. I see where it's going.
Ram and Red already have a close relationship.
Oh gosh.
It's just weird.
That would be one way to bring me into that world, I guess. Oh boy, I don't know. You know, nothing's a stretch on the Blacklist. They make everything happen. Yeah, they make anything happen. So
That's funny.
Shannon said, "What was your favorite part about being on the show?"
my favorite part about being on the show, I mean, I think as I was saying before, it's just, you know, it's just been a very exciting show to be a part of. I'll just put it at that. I mean, all of the people that work on it are so nice. It's such a well-tuned, oiled machine of a show. It's so fun to have such engaged viewers. I mean, I've never been a part of something where people actually care as much as they do, which is just like so cool. Yeah, I mean, and again, it's exciting to never know what I'm going to be doing next, you know, and each choice that I make in each scene might mean something else once it's edited and I watch it. I go like, oh, that's what they were actually trying to show. And I was thinking this scene was all about these feelings, and it wasn't. It was about, you know, so I think the whole process is just, it's very exciting, you know, because you just kind of never know. I hope that answers the question. Exciting. That's what I'll say.
That's a good answer.
Okay.
Trust me, it's good. It's a great answer. Judy Miller says, since Aram is off the table, this is our last fan question, since Aram is off the table, how about wrestler? Would Janet date the Boy Scout?
Oh my goodness. Well, now he's a murderer, right? So he's naughty. So maybe now that he's really, or unless she only preys on really, really nice, sweet people.
I like how she uses the word praise. I love that.
Yeah, well, perhaps if that's her MO, which, you know, now we're thinking about this land, maybe she'd go for wrestler. Who knows? Maybe because he's naughty and Janet's naughty, you know. They were both naughty at the end of the finale. Maybe that makes sense.
Oh, and they console each other. They got to hug it out.
Yes. Yeah. They go, we done bad. And then they hug it out.
And technically Saram, I always do that all the time. Technically Samar and Wrestler have actually hooked up before, so it's already right there in your wheelhouse.
No, I know. That was my first thought, and I was like, oh God, it's just everyone's just swapping spit, and it's gross. It's like gross.
They're all
you can
scum.
take that out of here. That was just, oh God. Oh yeah, they're all scum. No, I've passed the word along. Now that's just all you're going to say. For whatever
I'm going to
reason,
say
it rolls off the tongue.
I'm going to say it to my kids. I'm going to say, you're scum. I love you.
So what's next for you?
For me, well, right now, as you can tell, I'm very ill. I'm actually getting over a sickness. So right now I'm concentrating on getting healthy. This summer, actually, I ride horses very seriously. That's like I play pretend and I play with horses. So this summer, I actually just did a horse show, and then I'm planning to do another one coming up. So that's kind of like my next little up and coming thing. I know it's not actor related, but it's my exciting other life that I have that keeps me very fulfilled. So for that, I'm very excited.
What are you doing with the horse show? Are you riding, showing? What?
I do, yeah. So I've been riding since I was like 6 years old. So yeah, I do. I ride English, so I jump jumps and do all of that sort of thing. So, and wear the coat and the tall boots and the whole deal. So yeah, it's really fun.
It makes sense now why you can jump over the couch. It's just like when you're horse jumping.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, that's the same.
Yeah, same thing, exact same. Yep. Oh my gosh, funny.
Well, thanks for coming on and doing this. We really appreciate it. And
oh yeah, of course. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks so much, Annie. Have a good night.
No problem. You guys too. Thanks so much.
okay, that was our interview with Annie Heise. What'd you think, Troy? I thought it was great. I answered the question that I just asked because I don't care what you think, because it was great.
I think this is the first interview that I could say thank you, Aaron, because this is the only time you haven't asked anybody about the mother theory.
Yeah, well, if you want, I'll never ask it again. I'm more than happy to just put that baby to bed right now. If you're good with it, let's bury it right now. Let's bury it in a box, maybe a suitcase out by a tree.
Yeah, stick it in the bus stop. Wait for someone to pick it up. No, but seriously though, she smiles so big on the screen, and her personality comes off in her role. And even in this interview, you could see that or hear that throughout the course of this interview. Just really fantastic. Loved where she was talking about how, thinking the high school choir teacher and, getting her starting, and then just all the things that she's been involved with. It's a really interesting story to find out how you go from, just this idea of becoming an actor and then moving all the way up to something like The Blacklist, especially when they had to reinvent her role twice on the show. Really, really fun stuff.
And I love that she's also now Batman, according to Troy.
Yeah.
Because we got her origin story. Thanks, Annie, so much for coming by. I thought it was great. And we've talked about on the show how much we like her character. She's fun, and she brings something to the screen that really, really adds to the proceedings. So we've enjoyed her on the show. I hope she comes back in season 5. I really do, because she ain't dead. So come back.
She might be Jennifer. Who knows?
Oh no,
that was an interesting question. Kudos to whoever brought that one up.
Is that a real theory?
It's a real theory. Yeah, when she first showed up the first time, she's like, well, maybe she's a spy. Maybe she's trying to weasel her way in to get to Reddington through the task force. So it's a very plausible, good theory, I guess, if you believe Jennifer actually exists and Jennifer is even related to Reddington at all.
According to Troy, every theory is plausible. And most of them seem to be. But I honestly didn't know that was one. So thanks for, that wasn't fake. Really? That was really me going, huh? That's a thing? I didn't know that was a thing.
I thought you were practicing for when you get interviewed by EW on how to dodge theories.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to call me. Thanks again, guys, for listening to us. I hope you enjoyed this interview with Annie, and be sure to check out her upcoming movie, which is First Love. And it's going to be coming out hopefully maybe this year, maybe next year. We're not sure yet, but we will let you know as soon as we know when it is coming out. But that is definitely going to conclude this episode of the Blacklist Exposed.
It's also going to conclude this run for the season. We won't be back until July. So make sure you come back in July again for the interviews from New York, the fan roundtable, and the discussion, of course, on the 2 books. Number 159, The Beekeeper, and 166, The Dead Ring. We'll have all those for you in July as we talk about the podcast awards and how you can vote and help us get a trophy. That would be fantastic because it's all about you guys. All about you guys. So that's a win for everybody here that listens to the show. So thanks so much. Don't forget.
Way to sell it. Yeah, I like that spin right there. Oh, that's trophies for you guys.
PR in the making.
Can I keep it at my house if we get one?
For sure. Don't forget to follow us on Tumblr, Instagram, and join our Facebook group so you can see the trophy at Aaron's house. Just search for The Blacklist Exposed. Talk about the show, the podcast, or who you want to see us interview next in season 5.
I don't think you're going to let me see it. Can I get like weekend visitations or something? I don't know how that works out. All right, well, that's going to conclude this episode. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at The Blacklist GSM, where we live tweet during the East Coast feed when the show's on, but it's not on right now. But come fall, we'll be doing that again with the show's hashtag, The Blacklist. You can also subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts and Google Play, or listen from the website. If you're really on the go, be sure to download our app for iOS and Android powered by Spreaker. You can also find all the intel and analysis about this episode by visiting theblacklistexposed.com. Big thanks for listening, and we will see you guys in July. Make sure you subscribe. Don't just listen on the website. Subscribe.
Peace out. We'll see you later. Until next time, I'm Agent Troy Heinritz. That's at Troy Heinritz on Twitter. And if you want to learn more about me, just visit, about.me/Troy Heinritz.
And I'm Agent Aaron Peterson. You can hear me talking about movies and TV on the Hollywood Outsider podcast, as well as Remake This Movie Right. We are available at thehollywoodoutsiders.com or on Twitter at H_outsider. Be sure to subscribe, download the app, submit your feedback, but most importantly, keep yourself off of The Blacklist.
The Blacklist Exposed is a Golden Spiral Media production. Find more of our great podcasts at goldenspiralmedia.com/podcasts.